If you've clicked on this video, I'm assuming it's because you want to know more information about what's actually going on with the women that have been human trafficked between South Africa and Russia. And trust me, I will help you and give you as much information as I can. The problem is that right now it's such a new situation that there is such limited information to the public, but I will give you everything that I know. Now let's start from the beginning. Apparently, these women were promised good education and work-study opportunities for only women that are between the ages of 18 to 22 years old. Apparently, they were offered well-paying, safe and legal work jobs in sectors like hospitality, administration and service industries, all while they could still study abroad, which means that they wouldn't have to pay a single cent and they could still get a good education while earning good money. They were also assured that their travel, visas and accommodation would all be arranged for and covered, which means that they wouldn't have to arrange a single thing or pay a single cent to their travels or stay in Russia. However, upon their arrival, instead of hospitality or getting an education, the women were immediately placed in drone factories at the Alabuga Special Economic Zone, and they had to work for long hours in poor conditions with low pay and under strict surveillance. There have been reports that have described the conditions as exploitive, harmful, and deceptive, amounting to much forced labor and potentially even human trafficking. But this isn't necessarily a new thing, because in May 2025, the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime reported that the Alabuga SEZ, the exact organization that is now having this problem with South Africans, was implicated in potential human trafficking, which means that this report was already out there at the time when South Africa welcomed them into our country to start looking for more people to come and work in their factories. Now, this is where South Africa is at currently. On the 22nd of August, South Africa launched a formal investigation into whether Russian firms, including the Alabuga SEZ, misled and exploited young South African women through such recruitment campaigns. I'm not really sure what they're investigating because there have already been reports that they are doing this. Back in May this year, months and months ago, there were reports of potential human trafficking from this exact country. And now you're gonna come here and tell me that you're only investigating it now after you welcome them into our country. Now we can look at Russia's current position. The Russian embassy in South Africa has publicly denied the exploitation accusations, calling them baseless and media-driven. They claim the embassy has no evidence of forced labor or rights violations and point people to the official Alabuga SEZ and Alabuga Start program websites for participant feedback. Keep in mind, all of this feedback can just be generated by Russia themselves or by South Africans that have been forced to say certain things about the program to encourage more South Africans to join. Various independent investigations uncovered that around 200 African women were recruited under false promises, and they were told that they'd enter a hospitality or work-study program, but instead ended up assembling Shahed-type military drones, enduring long hours, poor pay, harsh supervision, and exposure to harmful chemicals. These women have since then been rescued and recovered and returned back to their former countries. Now, knowing this, you want to come here and tell me that South Africa is only now just starting to investigate what this company might potentially be doing. And I say potentially because that's the words that they have used. However, there's been literal physical evidence. Matter of fact, 200 women coming out, telling them word for word, this is what they made us do. Now we are safe. We are never going back there. As well as that, in May 2025, this year, there were reports of investigations of that company participating in human trafficking. And you want to tell me now, after the matter of the fact, after all of this has happened, after the women are already in that country, potentially being human trafficked, now you want to tell me that you're starting an investigation after you let them into our country? What are we doing here? But now we can move on to what the South African government is actually doing to help these women and get them back into our country. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has launched an active probe into allegations of foreign programs recruiting South Africans under false pretenses, including the Alabuga company. The Ministry of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities has issued strong warnings against job offers in Russia promoted via social media, urging young South African women, especially between the ages of 18 to 22, to exercise exercise extreme caution and verify others through official channels. This doesn't help when there are huge South African influencers promoting this program, all of which have since removed their posts and issued public apologies stating that they were unaware of the alleged exploitive nature. Now, I can agree and empathize with them on some of this. If this was all a facade and they genuinely didn't know that all of this was happening there, which I do actually believe, because I don't know why they would promote human trafficking on their channels, then I can understand that they are sorry and they had nothing to do with it and they don't want anything to do with it. However, you're gonna tell me that Russia flew you out all the way there, thousands of kilometers, thousands of rands for your flights and for your travel expenses, paid for your accommodation there, helped you film these videos, and you not once had an inkling of suspicion about anything that was going on there. I don't believe you. But now the bottom line is this. South Africa is currently responding through a multi-tiered approach that involves investigation of the scheme and diplomatic outreach for clarity, public advisories to protect vulnerable citizens, regulatory reinforcement for influencer promotion accountability, international cooperation through law enforcement, and human rights scrutiny. Now, if you're asking me, it's a little bit too late to do all of this, and instead we should be in Russia right now trying to get the South Africans out of those factories. If they've already rescued 200 other African women, who's to say how many South African women could be in there right now? Who knows how many are still there? For all we know, there could be thousands, and we most likely won't ever find out how many are actually there because their passports were confiscated upon their arrival. I'm gonna make another video soon telling you guys all of the information that I know. I'm gonna make sure that I stay updated and I'm gonna keep you guys updated. So make sure you follow along for that story.